Hello, my name is Morgan Dito. I'm going to be doing skill number 5 today, which is weighing powder with an electric scale. What I'm going to be doing first is go ahead and putting on my latex gloves. Alright, and now that my latex gloves are on, I'm going to go ahead and clean my appliances that I'm going to be using today. However, I wanted to discuss the two measurements that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing 5 grams and 14 grams today. And we're going to be talking about the maximum allowed weight and the minimum allowed weight for each of those. So I have my electric scale, I have my spatula, I have my alcohol wipes, and I have my piece of paper, and I have my powder that I'm going to be using. So what I'm going to go ahead and do first is go ahead and clean it. So I'm going to take my alcohol pad, wipe down my scale, then I'm going to go ahead and wipe down my spatula. And we're going to let that air dry. Then I'm going to also wipe down both sides of my piece of paper. And we are also going to let that air dry. Now that everything is air dried, my piece of paper is dry, my powder, and my alcohol wipes. I am now going to talk about the maximum allowed weight for 5 grams. The maximum allowed weight for 5 grams is going to go like this. It's going to go 5 grams plus 0.5 grams, which equals 5.5 grams as the maximum allowed weight. For the minimum allowed weight, I'm going to do 5 grams minus 0.5 grams, which is going to be 4.5 grams as the minimum allowed weight. So what I'm going to be doing today is actually measuring the 5 grams on this electric scale. So let's see. So I'm going to turn it on. All right, and it is at 0 grams, so I'm going to go ahead and show you that. 0 grams. And then I'm going to go ahead and put my piece of paper on the scale, and I'm going to press tare to make sure it's back at 0, because the paper can have a little bit of weight to it. And since we're not measuring paper, we're measuring the powder, we're going to do that. So I got my powder. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to measure out 5 grams. So the maximum allowed weight was 5.5 grams and the minimum allowed weight was 4.5 grams. So we're going to go ahead and measure out 5 grams. Alright, and now that I have 5 grams, I'm going to go ahead and show you that I have 5 grams. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our piece of paper and put our powder back in the container. So now we're done with our spatula. Take our piece of paper with our powder and dump it back in the container. Put the lid back on. So before I do anything else, I'm going to let you see my work for the first one. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to 14 grams. So the first step that we have to do is we actually have to go ahead and re-clean all of our appliances before we measure any other measurements. So what I'm gonna do is I am gonna go ahead and wipe down my scale. Now that my scale is all wiped down, I'm gonna then go ahead and wipe down my spatula. Now that my spatula is all clean, then I'm gonna go ahead and wipe both sides of my piece of paper as well. And then we're gonna go ahead and allow it to air dry. So we're gonna be doing 14 grams. Now that everything is all air dried, we're also going to be talking about the maximum allowed weight and the minimum allowed weight for 14 grams. So the maximum allowed weight is going to go like 14 grams plus 1.4 grams, which is going to be 15.4 grams as the maximum allowed weight. For the minimum allowed weight, it's going to be 14 grams minus 1.4 grams, which is going to be 12.6 grams as the minimum allowed weight. So now we're going to go ahead and measure out 14 grams. Now that everything's all air dried, we can go ahead and continue with that one. So it's at 0. Now we're going to go ahead and put our piece of paper onto our scale, and we're going to press tare to make sure it's at 0. Now that it's at 0, we are now going to go ahead and put our powder onto our piece of paper and scale to measure out 14 grams. All right, and now that we have 14 grams, I'm gonna go ahead and show you. Oop, hold on. 1 second, my number changed. All right, now it's at 14 grams, and I'm gonna go ahead and show you. All right, and that is 14 grams. And then we are gonna go ahead and take our piece of paper with our powder on it, and we are gonna go ahead and put it back in our container. All right, and then we're gonna go ahead and clean up all of our appliance, and then we are all done with skill number 5. I hope you have a good day. This off, piece of paper, and our spatula, and I'm all done.